What if I told you that the most devastating loss in recent bodybuilding history might actually be setting up the greatest comeback the sport has ever witnessed? The Persian Wolf is hungry again, and this time, failure isn't an option. But to understand why 2025 could be the year that rewrites bodybuilding history, we need to dive deep into a story of national pride, crushing defeat, and the kind of obsession that either destroys men or transforms them into legends. October 13th, 2024, Las Vegas. The moment that would haunt an entire nation. Hadi Choopan, the pride of Iran and former Mr. Olympia champion, stood frozen as Samson Dauda's name echoed through the arena. Second place, again, for the second consecutive year. The man who had once ruled bodybuilding's biggest stage found himself looking up at someone else holding his trophy. But this wasn't just any loss. This was a heartbreaking defeat by merely 3 scorecard points, the closest margin in the entire top 10. 3 points that separated glory from devastation. 3 points that would spark a transformation nobody saw coming. The numbers tell only part of the story. Choopan scored 17 points to Dauda's 14. In bodybuilding scoring, lower is better, meaning this was razor thin. To put this in perspective, no other neighboring competitors in the top 10 were separated by such a small margin. This wasn't a clear-cut victory for Dauda. This was a photo finish that could have gone either way on any given night. And that's what made it so much more painful for Choopan to accept. The aftermath was brutal to witness. Within hours, Choopan took to Instagram with words that shocked the bodybuilding world. "I am ashamed. I do not have the face to apologize to my people." His coach, Milos Sarka, later revealed the depth of Choopan's anguish on Jay Cutler's podcast. Hadi is devastated. He feels he disappointed his whole country. This wasn't just an athlete dealing with defeat. This was a man carrying the weight of 85 million Iranians on his shoulders, feeling like he had let them all down. To understand the magnitude of this pressure, you have to understand what Hadi Choopan represents to Iran. In a country where international recognition is rare, where economic sanctions have isolated them from much of the world, where young people desperately seek heroes they can look up to, Choopan became something far bigger than a bodybuilder. He became a symbol of Iranian excellence on the global stage. When he won in 2022, the entire country celebrated as if they had won the World Cup. Streets filled with people honoring their champion. The government, which normally pays little attention to bodybuilding, suddenly embraced the sport. The pressure was suffocating. In Iran, they had erected a statue in his honor after his 2022 victory, a bronze monument to the man who had put their country on the bodybuilding map. He wasn't just Hadi anymore. He was a national symbol, a beacon of hope for a country that desperately needed heroes. And now, he felt like he had failed them all. The weight of expectation from 85 million people isn't something most athletes can even comprehend. But for Choopan, it was his daily reality. But here's what makes this story even more complex. Choopan's history with controversy was already writing headlines before 2024. Cast your mind back to 2023, when Derek Lunsford dethroned him as Mr. Olympia. The moment Lunsford's name was announced, something snapped. Choopan ripped off his second-place medal and stormed off the stage in what many called the most unsportsmanlike display in Olympia history. The bodybuilding community was divided. His fans went nuclear on social media, sending such vicious threats to Lunsford's family that Derek himself had to address it publicly, saying the threats had gone too far. The 2023 controversy wasn't just about poor sportsmanship. It revealed the toxic culture that can surround athlete worship. Choopan's Iranian fan base, devastated by their hero's loss, lashed out with a vengeance that shocked even seasoned bodybuilding observers. Derek Lunsford's Instagram account was flooded with death threats. His family received messages so disturbing that he had to temporarily shut down his social media presence. The situation got so bad that Lunsford felt compelled to make a public statement, asking for respect and civility. Critics labeled Choopan as bitter, ungracious, unable to handle defeat. They said his true character had been exposed under pressure. The narrative was set. The Persian Wolf had shown his teeth, but not in the way anyone expected. This wasn't the humble champion Iran had celebrated. This was someone who couldn't accept that his reign was over. The bodybuilding media began questioning whether Choopan had the mental fortitude to be a true champion. Yet what happened next would begin to shift that narrative entirely. Instead of disappearing into off-season obscurity, Choopan did something that would shock everyone. He entered the 2024 Arnold Classic a competition he had never won before. This was significant because the Arnold Classic is considered the second most prestigious contest in bodybuilding, often called the Super Bowl to the Olympia's World Series. For a former Mr. Olympia to enter this competition was both a statement of intent and a massive risk. And not only did he compete, he absolutely demolished the field. His conditioning was otherworldly, his physique sharper than anyone had seen in years. Most importantly, he beat Samson Dauda, the same man who would later dethrone him at the Olympia. Then he did it again at the Arnold Classic UK, proving it wasn't a fluke. These weren't narrow victories either. Choopan's superiority was so evident that even his harshest critics had to admit he was operating on a different level. What made these Arnold victories so impressive was the level of conditioning been brought. Bodybuilding experts described it as some of the most shredded conditioning they had ever witnessed on a mass monster of his size. While Samson Dauda brought impressive size and structure, Choopan's detail and separation were in a league of their own. Every muscle fiber was visible, every vein pronounced, every line carved to perfection. It was conditioning that reminded everyone why he had earned the nickname the Persian Wolf: predatory, dangerous, and absolutely relentless. These victories weren't just wins, they were statements. They showed that 2023 Choopan was still there, still elite, still dangerous. Experts started calling it some of the best conditioning of his entire career. The man who had been written off as past his prime was serving notice that reports of his demise had been greatly exaggerated. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from, "Is Choopan finished?" to "How the hell did he lose the Olympia?" Then came the most telling decision of all. In October 2024, just days after his devastating Olympia loss, news broke that would surprise the entire bodybuilding world. Choopan announced he would skip the 2025 Arnold Classic entirely. This wasn't a man running away from competition. This was strategic warfare. While Samson Dauda confirmed he would defend his Arnold title, Choopan was making it clear that he had exactly one target in mind: October 2025, the Mr. Olympia. Nothing else mattered. This decision spoke volumes about his mindset. The Arnold Classic had been his redemption story in 2024. It was where he had proven he could still beat the best in the world. But now, with laser focus, he was willing to sacrifice everything for one single weekend in October. This wasn't about collecting trophies anymore. This was about reclaiming what he believed was rightfully his. It was the decision of a man who had learned that being really good at multiple shows meant nothing if you couldn't deliver when it counted most. The strategic implications were enormous. By skipping the Arnold, Choopan was giving himself an entire extra year to prepare specifically for the Olympia. No contest prep, no peak, no recovery time needed. Just pure focused improvement for 12 straight months. It's a luxury that few competitors afford themselves, but it's also a massive gamble. If he fails in 2025, there's no Arnold Classic victory to fall back on. No consolation prize to soften the blow. The transformation that followed has been nothing short of extraordinary. While staying relatively quiet on social media compared to his more vocal competitors, the few glimpses we've gotten of Choopan's preparation have been terrifying for his rivals. Head judge Steve Weinberger recently outlined exactly what Choopan needs to improve to win back his title: more sweep on his thighs, more width on his back, and more cap on his delts. But Weinberger also admitted something crucial. He's as dangerous as any of those guys. He gets rock hard. His conditioning is never in question. That last part is key. Conditioning has always been Choopan's secret weapon. While other competitors struggle to nail their peak, the Persian Wolf has built his reputation on showing up absolutely shredded when it matters most. His coach, Hani Rambod, the man behind multiple Olympia champions, including Jay Cutler and Phil Heath, knows exactly how to push Choopan's body to that otherworldly level of conditioning that has defined his career. But what does Choopan's training actually look like? The few glimpses we've gotten reveal a man obsessed with perfection. His leg training, captured in rare footage from his preparation phases, shows volume that would break most people. We're talking about sessions that last upwards of 3 hours, with rep ranges consistently in the 15 to 20 range to maximize muscle fiber recruitment and time under tension. His approach to leg extensions alone involves multiple variations: single leg, both legs, different angles, all designed to hit every possible muscle fiber. Choopan's training philosophy centers around what bodybuilders call chasing the pump. That feeling when muscles become engorged with blood and feel like they're about to explode. But he takes it further than most. His leg press sessions have been documented at weights exceeding 900 pounds for high repetitions. But it's not about the weight. It's about the controlled, methodical approach that squeezes every ounce of stimulus from each rep. The mental aspect of his training is equally intense. Choopan trains in near silence, with a focus that borders on meditative. There's no music blasting, no social media cameras following his every move, no entourage hyping him up. It's just him, the weights, and an internal fire that seems to burn hotter with each session. This monk-like approach to preparation has become his trademark, and it's part of what makes him so dangerous when he peaks. But the physical transformation is only half the story. The mental warfare happening inside Choopan's head might be even more intense. Unlike American or European competitors who deal with typical sports pressure, Choopan carries the hopes and dreams of an entire nation that sees bodybuilding success as a source of national pride. When he wins, Iran celebrates. When he loses, he feels like he's failed 85 million people. This cultural pressure is something most Western athletes simply cannot comprehend. In Iran, individual success in international competition carries the weight of national representation in a way that's almost unknown in countries with multiple sports heroes. Choopan isn't just competing for himself, he's competing for a country that desperately wants to be seen and respected on the world stage. Every pose, every victory, every defeat is magnified through this lens of national pride. The psychological toll of this pressure showed clearly in his post-2024 social media posts. When he wrote, "I am ashamed," he wasn't just expressing personal disappointment. He was expressing the crushing weight of feeling like he had let down everyone who believed in him. This level of pressure would crush most athletes, but there's something different about how Choopan has processed his recent failures. The shame he felt after 2024 hasn't broken him. It's forged him into something potentially more dangerous than he's ever been. Champions aren't made in victory. They're forged in the fire of devastating defeat. And Choopan has been through that fire twice now. There's a theory in sports psychology that some athletes need to experience profound failure before they can achieve their ultimate success. The hunger that comes from having something taken away from you is often more powerful than the satisfaction of never losing it in the first place. Looking at bodybuilding history, some of the greatest comebacks have come from champions who experienced devastating losses. Arnold Schwarzenegger lost the 1980 Olympia amid controversy and never competed again, but many argue that defeat drove him to excellence in other fields. Dorian Yates faced criticism throughout his career about his conditioning and came back each year more shredded than the last. Phil Heath dealt with constant criticism about his gut and responded by winning 7 straight Olympias. The experts are starting to take notice of something brewing. Nick Walker, one of the most dangerous contenders for 2025, recently made a stunning admission. When asked about his biggest threats for the upcoming Olympia, Walker didn't mention defending champion Samson Dauda or former champion Derek Lunsford. Instead, he singled out Hadi Choopan as the man he's most worried about. That speaks volumes coming from someone of Walker's caliber, a man who has never shied away from confidence or bold predictions. Walker's concern isn't unfounded. Despite his relatively short stature in a division that often favors taller competitors, Choopan has consistently proven that conditioning and detail can overcome raw size. His legs, in particular, are considered among the best in the sport's history. The combination of size, separation, and conditioning he brings to his lower body is something that even much larger competitors struggle to match. Tarek El Guindi, another respected voice in bodybuilding, has gone even further, calling Choopan dangerous and labeling him as Samson Dauda's biggest threat for 2025. These aren't just random opinions, these are informed predictions from people who understand the intricate details of what it takes to win at the highest level. El Guindi has been around the sport long enough to recognize when a competitor has that special combination of skill, motivation, and timing that creates Olympia champions. The technical analysis supports these expert opinions. When you break down what happened at the 2024 Olympia, the margin of victory was so small that minor improvements in key areas could easily swing the result. Choopan's conditioning was already elite level, arguably better than Dauda's. His symmetry and proportion are superior. The only areas where Dauda had clear advantages were in overall size and perhaps back width. But here's the thing about bodybuilding. Small improvements can create massive visual changes. If Choopan can add even a small amount of mass to his frame while maintaining his legendary conditioning, he becomes nearly unbeatable. The challenge is that adding size often compromises conditioning, and conditioning has always been his greatest asset. It's a delicate balance that only the most elite bodybuilders can master. His coach, Hadi Choopan, has made a career out of helping bodybuilders find this balance. Choopan's FST7 training protocol, fascia stretch training with 7 sets, has been used to create multiple Olympia champions. The method focuses on stretching the fascia around muscles to allow for greater growth, while maintaining the kind of detail and separation that wins shows. If anyone can help Choopan add size without losing his conditioning edge, it's Choopan. There's something almost mythical building around Choopan's potential 2025 campaign. The story writes itself too perfectly. The fallen champion, carrying the weight of national shame, laser focused on one single moment of redemption. The man who was humiliated not once, but twice on bodybuilding's biggest stage, now has the chance to author one of the greatest comeback stories the sport has ever seen. The parallels to other great sports comebacks are striking. Michael Jordan's return from baseball to win 3 more NBA championships. Tiger Woods' comeback from personal scandal and injury to win the 2019 Masters. Muhammad Ali's return from his boxing ban to reclaim the heavyweight title. All of these stories share common elements: devastating setbacks, periods of doubt and criticism, and an internal fire that refused to be extinguished. But here's what makes this even more compelling. Choopan has already proven he can beat the current champion. Those Arnold Classic victories over Samson Dauda weren't close decisions. They were dominant performances where Choopan's superior conditioning and detail overwhelmed Dauda's impressive size. The blueprint for victory is already there. The question isn't whether Choopan can beat Dauda. He's already done it twice. The question is whether he can do it when it matters most, on the biggest stage with the most pressure. The Arnold Classic victories also revealed something crucial about the current competitive landscape. While Dauda has impressive size and structure, his conditioning isn't quite at the elite level that defines Olympia champions. When he faced Choopan at peak conditioning, the Iranian's superiority was undeniable. This suggests that if Choopan can bring similar conditioning to the Olympia stage, something he's done consistently throughout his career, he has a legitimate chance to reclaim his title. The psychological warfare aspect of their rivalry is also fascinating. Dauda now knows that he can be beaten by Choopan. He's experienced it twice at the Arnold events. While he proved he could win when it mattered most at the Olympia, there's now a seed of doubt that didn't exist before. Champions often talk about the mental edge that comes from knowing you can beat your primary rival. Choopan has that edge now. The 2025 Mr. Olympia is shaping up to be one of the most anticipated competitions in recent memory, and Hadi Choopan sits at the center of it all. A man who has tasted both the pinnacle of success and the agony of defeat. A champion who fell from grace and felt the sting of letting down an entire nation. A competitor who has been counted out, written off, and dismissed, only to prove time and again that the Persian Wolf is never more dangerous than when he's wounded. The competitive field for 2025 is stacked with talent. Derek Lunsford will be looking to reclaim his title after falling to 3rd place. Nick Walker, when healthy, represents perhaps the most dangerous combination of size and conditioning in the sport. Samson Dauda will be defending his title with the confidence that comes from having defeated Choopan when it mattered most. Andrew Jacked continues to improve and could emerge as a dark horse candidate. But none of these competitors carry the psychological motivation that Choopan does. None of them have experienced the specific combination of national embarrassment and personal shame that has been driving Choopan's preparation. None of them have had their entire identity as a champion stripped away not once, but twice. This level of motivation is either destructive or transformative. There's rarely a middle ground. The training footage and physique updates that have leaked from Choopan's camp suggest transformation rather than destruction. While he's remained relatively quiet on social media compared to his more publicity-hungry competitors, the few glimpses we've gotten show a man who looks more focused and determined than ever. His physique appears fuller than in recent years while maintaining the granite-like conditioning that made him famous. Come October 2025, we'll discover whether this story ends in redemption or heartbreak, whether the shame and pressure will crush him or forge him into an unstoppable force, whether Hadi Choopan can complete what might be the most emotionally charged comeback in bodybuilding history. One thing is certain, the Persian Wolf is hungrier than he's ever been, and this time, he's not just fighting for a trophy. He's fighting for his legacy, his nation's pride, and the chance to prove that true champions always find a way to rise again. The stage is set. The stakes have never been higher. And somewhere in Iran, a champion is preparing for war. The only question remaining is whether the rest of the bodybuilding world is ready for what's coming. Because if Hadi Choopan has learned anything from his recent defeats, it's that sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're truly capable of becoming. This isn't just about bodybuilding anymore. This is about redemption, national pride, and the unbreakable spirit of a man who refuses to let his story end in defeat. The Persian Wolf is coming, and he's never been more dangerous.